Why are Malay Muslims, why do you think, feel they're under attack all the time?
It's very simple. Number one, they don't read.
Okay, done. We can stop recording now.
Well, no,
That's all.
that's-
They don't read.
That's number one.
What's going on Malaysia?
Tang, tang, tang. Assalamualaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Apa khabar semua? Welcome to another episode of What's Going On Malaysia. I know I've been away for a little while. Thank you everyone who has sent in messages, bumped into me on the street, asked me for some more episodes. And here it is, another episode for you. And I'm going to go straight into it. Today, actually, I'm very happy because I've got someone who I won't say that I know very well, but I consider a very good and important knowledge. What would I call it? A wealth of knowledge I put with this person. He's absolutely incredible. Professor Tajuddin Rasdi, welcome to the show. Sekali lagi.
Thank you very much.
You did an episode with me during the pandemic or prior to the pandemic or something like that.
Two or three times.
Two or three times,
Such a long
yes.
time ago.
Okay, to those of you who don't know Professor Tajuddin, you have a YouTube channel now.
Yes.
What is the name of that YouTube channel? How can people find it out?
I think you just type in Professor Tajuddin and you'll find it.
Ni dipanggil old school. Like, doesn't even have, like, you just type in his name and you'll find it. Absolutely correct. But before that, to those of you who don't know him, can you take 45 seconds to explain who you are, what you do, and why people should listen to you? Because, sometimes people say, "Elah, dia siapa? Apa dia tahu?" So, you let people know apa you tahu. And by the way, that is thunder. Did you see that? I just said, you let people know apa you tahu. Vroom. Natural.
Okay, with that introduction, my name is Muhammad Tajuddin bin Muhammad Rasdi, and I have a PhD in architecture.
Okay.
And I teach architecture at UCSI University, before this at University of Technology Malaysia. So I'm a retiree, but I also have a full-time job there. And I basically started writing and teaching architecture. And one of my focus is Islamic architecture, which led me to do a lot of research on Islam. And by reading the hadith of the Prophet, I came to know a different Islam than what is being practiced by most Muslim and also Malays. And therefore, I made the jump into social, political, education by looking at how Islam affects what we call the nation. And since not many people are having to explain what's happening in relation to why Islamic issues is being played up so much, I took upon myself as a responsibility of a Muslim as well as a Malaysian to actually put out a perspective, not a fatwa, but a perspective that comes directly from the scripture as well as some logical reasoning.
Let me just rewind back. Thunder again. Let me rewind back to that moment that you said you discovered a different Islam, I'm paraphrasing here, to what is generally or commonly understood by most Malaysian or Malay Muslims. What do you mean by that?
Well, if you look at our education of Islam, it usually comes from the ustaz. And we don't think much about it at that time because it's very simple. You have a teacher, he knows how to speak Arabic, he seems to know the Quran, and so you listen to him, and that's it. Sometimes you listen to him till the day you die, meaning after you retire. But when you start reading the hadith of the Prophet, which is the compilation of Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, there are thousands of these hadith, then you begin to see a different picture. And the more so when you begin to ask questions about, how do we live with other people? How do we respect other people? Should we treat everybody as enemies just because we are Muslim? And in the examples of the Prophet that you read, he has, of course, he's the one carrying Islam, and therefore you have a direct understanding of it there. But other Muslims, they only have it from the ustaz. So if you're listening to Azhar Idros, Kazim Elias, so that's your Islam. The Kazim Elias Islam, the Azhar Idros Islam, the Akmal Islam, whatever it is. If you don't read, and that is the key word here, and you just spend your whole time listening to this ustad and that ustad, you may learn something, but you will not get the bigger picture of what Islam is from the Prophet Muhammad. That I'm not going to say through Islam or whatever. It's from the Prophet Muhammad, not from somebody else.
And on that note, because you did say a bit earlier, it does feel sometimes in Malaysia, especially in the current mood of the nation, and especially if you read everything on social media, that it seems to be that there's Muslims and then everybody else, i.e., other races, are considered the enemy. And, and I'm not going to beat around the bush here. It feels like certain people are crusading for Islam, and by automaticness, kalau bukan Islam, you are enemy. And so that's interesting that you said that. Do you sense that happening as well sometimes?
Yes, there are two reasons mainly that I can offer why this is happening. Number one is our basic education of Islam itself from the Ustaz. Not through their fault, they have no intention of that, but that is how they learn Islam from their teachers, and that is how they impart. What do you mean? Well, they teach you about cleanliness, so other people are not clean. They teach you about the history of Islam. Some of this history is about war between Christians and Muslim. But they never teach you whether it is about religion or about politics or about the personal agendas of the leaders. Now that is the problem. That is number one, meaning from our education itself, even to the point of university. When I look at the curriculum, let's say from the University Kebangsaan Malaysia, what is the Islamic curriculum? I cannot find any subject on, say, heritage of other people, on the appreciation of art, on the appreciation of civilization. Everything is about Islam and taken from this traditional construct. So that's education. Now we come to politics. Politics identified that this can be weaponized very easily because people are ignorant of their own religion. They love their religion. They want to go to heaven, but they don't know that they don't know about Islam.
They don't know that they don't know.
That's the problem.
And that's where some people might say ignorance sets in. Because when you don't know, I read this, I saw a little meme online, that being stupid is like being dead. When you're dead, you don't know you're dead. So when you're stupid, also you don't know that you're stupid. Okay, let's hone in as an example. The recent issue at KK Mart, where the word Allah, Kalimah Allah, appeared on a few pairs of stockings, and it just blew up. I don't need to go into the exact details. I think everybody is very much aware of the concurrent events subsequent to that. But in my feeling, the way I saw it, it very quickly turned into us against them. If it wasn't Islam versus non-Islam, it was Malay versus Chinese. And that's the way I saw it playing out. When it first hit and subsequent to that, what were your thoughts on this issue?
Well, there are two aspects to this. Number one, the so-called insult to Islam, meaning the word Allah being put on a stocking. Now, many people interpret that, well, this is very disgusting. This is very bad. And the word Allah should not be associated with feet. But then I ask the question, well, which part of the body is something that is what we call a taboo? Which part?
So, like, where's the line?
Where's the line?
Is
it? I even ask, is it your sexual organ, or what? I mean, if you go to answer the call of nature, you have to say a certain prayer. There is a certain prayer about going to answer the call of nature. Now, what if you were to put the verses of what you have to read in the toilet? Would that be something very bad? That's number one. Number two, the idea of in the hereafter, all your organs, the body parts is going to give testimony to what you have done. The hands, the eyes, the nose, what they smell, the ears, and the feet. I read a story in one of the books written by some ulama, where there are some, this guy went to his friend who was dying and then slept in his house. And one night he saw these two figures coming down. And these two figures, one was taking notes. The other one, he says, go smell his head. And so he smelled his head and said, so what did you find? Oh, he has this name of Allah in his mind. And then go smell his stomach. And then the other person smelled his stomach and said, what do you smell? I smell that he has eaten halal food. Now go smell his feet. So he smelled his feet. And then he said, what did you find? He has gone to the mosque in many of the occasions and never once went to these places where it is haram. So which part of the body is insulting? And the fact that the design, and some people have shown that there are some places where they have stockings. Like if we were in the West, stocking is a very important thing. I mean, if you don't have socks, you're going to be cold. Stocking in Malaysia is slightly different. It smells and because of all that. That's number one. Number two, the fact that how can you say someone is insulting? If somebody was saying something to me and in an insulting, the first thing I would think about is that what was the history of it? I mean, is there a history of this person insulting Islam? And we check, certainly KK Mart doesn't have any history of that. So if you were saying, let's say, Harith is very insulting to Islam, the first thing I would do is check your YouTube and say, anything that he has done this before?
What was prior? What came prior?
Yes, you can't just out of the blue and say things like that. We are humans. We are always terlajak kata Piramli, what it says, selagi lidah pun tergigit, ini kan pula suami isteri sort of thing. So we don't seem to have that in mind,
Yeah, and as someone else once pointed out to me, if you really wanted to insult Islam, there are way stronger and better ways to do it than to subconsciously put it on a stocking, if that was your intention.
Yes.
If that was your intention, which in my opinion was not the intention. But you and I both know that is talking logically. But when it comes to Malaysians, sometimes we take logic, we put it aside, and we jump into the whole, how shall I say this, race, social issue where a certain individual from UMNO then grabs hold of it and then pushes it through the roof, subsequent to that calling for boycotts and all. It very quickly, in my opinion, took a turn away from being just a religious issue and very much a political issue.
Yes, because we can see the comparison between the sock issue and the recent shoe issue, Vern, yeah, and then the Kaabah floor mat issue, which it turned out to be sajadah. None of them, there is a word boycott being called. Why is that? It was because the man who has been calling for boycott just met the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, like some pupils meeting the headmaster or something like that. So I don't trace anything from him now talking about boycotting other products and ruining other businesses. So that is where we see the incompatibility of his claim that he is fighting for Islam. He is always claiming that he's fighting for Islam. This is what he's doing. This is what his party is doing. Well, I don't. You say that you're fighting for Islam, but you do not know how the Prophet did it in the way that he has done so. And if you had understood the akhlaq or the even the politics and the diplomacy of the Prophet, then you would have to say you're fighting for Islam. But here it's very clear you're fighting for yourself and for your party. Now, the other explanation why no calls of boycott is because he has reached his objective of popularity. He has become immensely popular, and UMNO once again has become popular after their fall from their position in GE15. So this is where it is unfortunate, where we want to get the popularity, but at the expense of our own people.
What is the expense? Okay, you and I can understand it, we can see it, but to those of you who may be on the fence going, actually, what is the cost? What is the cost of all this happening?
Well, thankfully, there is no cost of life. That's number one. The first thing.
Touch wood.
Yeah.
Because there were attempts.
Yeah, there were
was
attempts there.
Molotov cocktail, not once, not
yeah,
twice, but 3 times.
Yeah, that's right. So then we have the economic situation where you would have losing business and losing the power of the buyer and things like that. And so you might be losing your jobs or having a less of your take-home salary. But the most important thing is the idea of the dignity, your own dignity. Who are these people? How many outlets? There are 800 over
800
outlets,
plus.
right? And the things that were, it's only in 2 or 3 outlets. I wasn't.
It was, I think 5 pairs.
Yeah, but in
spread
the
across 2
few
or 3
outlets. So you are rewarding honest people working very hard for their livelihood and then calling for boycotts which affected them. I mean, of course, Palestine and all that is there, but I never agreed to the boycott of McDonald's and Starbucks and all this, because I was concerned more of the workers, not about the cause of Palestine. That is something else. But to call that and then to ignore the plight of the hardworking, honest workers who has nothing to do with the intentions of destroying religion or anybody for that matter. And that is what I call destroying the dignity of a person.
Okay. Slightly different topic that you veered onto. We'll get to that Palestine issue and McDonald's in a moment. But going back to the KK Mart, you can say that we destroy the dignity. Tapi the counter argument from them, I guess, would be, tapi kita mempertahankan Allah, nama Allah. How do you respond to that?
Well, this is a very sensitive issue to a lot of people. To me, it's a very clear issue.
How so?
Because in the story of the Prophet, when in one of the treaty that was formed, the mushrikun or the kafirs from Mecca had a treaty, and they were not
Sorry, I'm going to stop you just there, because the word kafir has been bandied about so much now that even a lot of my non-Muslim friends are now getting a bit jittery.
Yeah.
Because I have an understanding of the word kafir, but it seems to be just thrown as non-Muslim.
Yeah.
Is kafir a non-Muslim? Is non-Muslim kafir?
Because
Could you spend a bit of time.
Yeah, because the word kafir, I'm not a student of Arab language. The first time I discovered the meaning in Arabic was reading the translations of Abdullah Yusuf Ali of Quran. I mean, it's better than most Malays who never read the Quran to understand it. And he described meaning of kafir, I said kafara, he said something like that, meaning an intention to cover something. So meaning that if you saw a coin and you actually want to possess the coin, you don't want anybody else to see it, so you cover it with the sand so that nobody else can see it. Okay. What does that mean? It implies that the person knows of the existence of something but purposely covers it up. So here, there is a distinction between that kind of person and a person who doesn't know anything at all, never found any coin, never saw anything. So how is he going to be doing the kafara thing? So non-Muslims are those who never really thought about Islam, or as someone who has come across Islam in a certain way. So that's fine. The other ones are those who actually understand, like in the case of the Prophet Muhammad, you have Abu Jahl, you have Abu Sufyan. These people are Arabs. They understood exactly what the Prophet was preaching and what would be the cost to their society. And that is where they went to war with the Prophet. So these are the kafir, because they know. So the key words here, they know and they purposely hide. As opposed to those who do not know, and therefore they are called bukan Islam. Even Nick Aziz, one time in the Harkah when I was supporting PAS at that time, I read it and he said that it is not right for you to call all the rakyat as kafirs. Similarly, when I read Siddiq Fazil, the one of our scholars of Islam, who says that no, we are ukhwah, we are brothers, we are persaudaraan semanusia, persaudaraan sebangsa, meaning the brotherhood of nation as well as the brotherhood of mankind. Now, brotherhood of Muslims is one thing, but we should also have the brotherhood of nation, meaning part of a nation. So he disallowed also the use of the word kafir, and then we heard that his daughter, the minister of education, where she said that she did not teach, or she does not teach her children to call anybody kafir, same as I, but it became an issue when one mufti said that Well, are you denying that they are kafir? Yes. The point here is that they are kafir, but you cannot consider everyone stereotyping everybody as enemies of Islam. And that, when you said just now that some people considers us and them, meaning the idea of anybody else outside of Islam is enemy. So this is a problem when most of these ustaz do not consider what's the idea of nation building, because they never had a nation. They only had the same people living together.
We're going to cut that and to make that into a short. I'm going to put that on a T-shirt. What is nation building? Okay, I'm going to ask you a question where this is just my personal wanting to know. Why do Malay Muslims, okay, because that's the only people I experience at the moment, I can't talk for the Muslims of the other country, feel such a need? It feels like they feel they're under attack all the time. Padahal, in my experience, I don't really feel that. I'm talking about Malaysia here. But every time they respond to something like this, be it the KK Mart issue or whatever, it feels that they always come out all guns are blazing, as if they're being attacked by these 5 pair of socks, by the shoe, by the whatever. Why are Malay Muslims, why do you think, feel they're under attack all the time?
It's very simple. Number one, they don't read.
Okay, done. We can stop recording now.
No,
That's all. They don't read.
That's number one. Number two.
No, but please, don't be subtle here. Just
okay,
don't
well,
read, okay?
They don't read, meaning, but then, you know why they don't read? Because many of the muftis or ustaz says, do not study religion by reading.
Really?
Yes, because
Yeah.
you're supposed to study religion by a teacher. Now, of course, that is understood because in those days, you don't have books. And if you did,
People were illiterate.
It's very difficult to get. You don't get photocopy machines. You don't get, it's very difficult. In order to copy, you have to transcribe it or you have to write it, longhand. So that's why, in order to learn anything, you need to go to the teacher and berguru. That is called the berguru. Now, I accept that. The idea that you berguru, why? Number one, the guru knows. And number two, the akhlaq or the way that the guru, like you learn from the Prophet, accept that. But here in the age of printing with all the writings and now with the YouTubes and all that, the sources of learning is different. So this is where we need to have a different way of looking at what is called learning about religion. Now, so this is where, number one, they don't read to know more about something. Even sometimes the ustaz say, careful in reading the translations of the Quran as well as the translation of the Hadith. Well, accepted that we don't know Arabic, but I don't just read one Quran. I mean, I read the translations and commentary of Abdullah Yusuf Ali, of Muhammad Assad, of the Tarjuman of Maududi, which is translated from the Urdu to English. I read also Tafsir Al-Azhar by Hamka. It's like 8 volumes, 9 volumes. So I compare, because I know that I'm weak in Arabic, so I need to make some comparison. So this is the one thing that the Muslims not. That's number one. Number two, they don't associate with other cultures. Surprisingly, those who goes overseas also stick within their own Malay society, and so they are not experienced. I mean, I've been invited to churches to give talks. I've been invited for tea in churches. I also have given talks in temples. As an architect, I've done measured drawings of Chinese temple, the Chang Hun Teng temple in Malacca. So you move in the different cultures. The other thing also is that I read about other religion, about Buddhism, about Christianity. I've read the Bible. I've read the book Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. So this is the wide understanding of things, and therefore you don't look at things in a simple, wrap up box very nicely, but it's something that overflows. So this is where when you study religion within a short, narrow construct, and you become frightened by your own shadow because you do not have the wide thinking. Now, of course, the ustaz will say, wide thinking leads to sesat.
Yeah.
You know,
Buat apa nak belajar semua benda-benda tu?
Yes, that's right. So it's the idea of what I call the tempurung mindset. Now, what is the tempurung mindset? Tempurung mindset means, okay, you want to be a Muslim, so you must be very careful. So you must sit within the tempurung of what the ustad says. Okay, well then, what is the tempurung? You take a tempurung or a piece of a basin, and then you put several cockroaches there inside. What happens to the cockroaches? They are safe from the predators, from the cats, from the snakes, from the rats, or whatever that want to eat that. But what happens to them eventually? They all die. Where are they going to get food? They can't get any food because they sit in the tempurung. So this is where the idea of faith, there are two. Number one, faith is about you confronting what is the outside and what is in life, and then increasing your strength because of all the challenges. The other one is to stay safe somewhere, and to stay safe so that you just go for prayers, mix with your own kind, even charity, giving only to your own faith, and so you feel that you are safe. But that is where growth does not occur, and enmity does, where you make enemies of others, and it's easy for others to make you believe that there are enemies all around you, and that is the tragedy of education, of religion.
Or the type of education we have experienced in Malaysia, which reminds me, going back to the idea or the topic of forgiveness or compassion. So if we take the KK Mart incident, for example, the socks were discovered, so-and-so posted online. Immediately or almost immediately, the CEO and boss of KK Mart made an instant and what felt to be quite an authentic apology. And yet, that was unanimously rejected by a certain individual, and prosecution went ahead, leading to boycott. And then, in my head, I was still thinking, well, he made what seemed to be a authentic apology. I'm not even saying that he was wrong. I'm just saying the apology was authentic enough. What happened to compassion? What happened to, like when someone bumps into you and they apologize, you go, okay, tak apa. If they didn't apologize and they went, oi, then you would be thinking, hey, kenapa? You bump into me and I get angry at you. This one, you were bumped into, they apologize, and then you go and attack them pula. Did you feel that was happening? Where was the compassion here?
Yeah, well, if we were to simply relate to the incident of the Prophet and the Badui who came and urinate in the mosque or the house of the Prophet, what did the Prophet do? Did he say, "Oi, bodoh," or did he say, tak guna punya orang? He didn't say that. He just people were trying to stop this guy and beat him. What the Prophet said? Wait, let him finish. Imagine that. Let him finish with the urinating. And after the guy finished, the Prophet himself took a tumbler of water and then washed. And then he simply said, "This is a house of worship. It would not be nice for you to do this because this is where people meet." Something along that line. Now compare that to what this guy said. I wouldn't even mention his name. Who says that no, this is the sanctity of Islam. He said we are not satisfied that he has apologized. We want him to be charged. Well, eventually he was charged. Then, no, we still want to go on with the boycott. Until when? Until we are satisfied. What actually does that mean? When is it that you are satisfied? Then he did say something. Well, if they bankrupt or they go and do another business, can you imagine somebody saying that about people having business in Malaysia? So then when some people like me countered and said that this is, you are bullying, and he took offense on that. I'm not bullying. These people are powerful. They are rich people. I'm sorry, but you belong to a political party that has 1 million members, who is also part of the government. Don't consider yourself bigger than any, even Robert Kwok cannot fight UMNO with 1 million members and part of the government. So who's the bully there? So this is the problem, is political opportunism. And this is a very dangerous path for us to take, to allow such things.
And I can tell you that it hit my mind, and it's been confirmed by the people I spoke to. The ripple effect is that other entrepreneurs, business person could say, oh, I build up from one restaurant, halal restaurant, to 40 halal restaurants, but being non-Malay. That if all it takes for someone to cut that down is to, inadvertently slip in a piece of pork somewhere, put it on video and tengok restoran ni menjemahkan benda yang haram. And boom. Just like that.
Yeah.
No matter how fast you apologize, no matter that the fact is it wasn't even you, it was planted, or anything like that, how immediate the effect is and how scary that is for progress, for people who say, oh, how is it a good idea to try starting a business here? I mean, don't you get that?
Okay, now this one, we cannot blame politicians.
Okay.
We have to blame ourselves within our own social media. Have you ever seen what is being written in the comment section in some of the places? The language that they use. Even sometimes I had to make a specific video, and also in my column, I call them something like freedom of speech without conscience, without responsibility, and without decorum. Okay, so we obviously didn't take that subject, whether we are in the primary school or in the secondary school or in the university. So because we have not taken that idea of that, the Malays have a saying, terlajak perahu boleh diundur, terlajak kata badan binasa, something like that. To mean that be careful of what you say. All right? And in Islam, if you read the Kitab Ihya Ulumuddin by Imam Ghazali, he has a chapter of 25 bencana lisan, and words are the one that can drag you to hell, whether you have gone to pilgrimage or prayer, something like that. But these words because words reflect your soul basically, and so if you are praying and going to pilgrimage, your soul is still black, to the point that you wouldn't even have compassion to forgive somebody, or you wouldn't even have the idea of checking, and then you go and viralize something. They don't understand. And the muftis who write or who are in charge of religion in writing the Friday sermon, I don't find any trace of that. I don't find the trace of them advising, please don't put up something like that would destroy business. Don't even use the word boycott, or don't even viralize something before it's being checked by the relevant authorities. So this is where the ignorance of the people is at fault, and not the politician per se. So you cannot blame the politician all the time, but the blame must come also to the users of the social media, and that's why I support the idea of a stricter control. Meaning that if you find somebody viralizing something like that, then there must be some actions against them in terms of some kind of a law. Even though it says, oh, this is not freedom of speech, but I am very frightened of freedom of speech without conscience and without responsibility.
Without adab, like
with the conscience is
conscience. Yeah, I have a slightly different point of view. People say, oh, social media is detrimental, is spoiling society. Similar to what you were saying, I actually think that no, social media just amplifies what is already in.
True.
If you are dark within, it will amplify on social media. It's not that if you're a bright, happy, cheerful, blessed, content person, you will not spew darkness and words to destroy others.
That's right.
It just amplifies it.
Yeah.
So okay, getting back to boycotts. I understand the idea behind a boycott, specifically with what's happening in Palestine and all. I'm not saying I support or don't support. I understand the concept and understand what is being done. My fear is, or what I get is, that the people who are boycotting may not truly understand the ramifications. Like you said, they just ikut. Boycott. Oh yeah, McDonald's tutup, oh Starbucks tutup, oh KFC tutup. And they think their job is done, and they somehow think that they are, I don't know, not a martyr, but done something good. What are your thoughts on boycotts of that nature, the bigger ones?
I think it's similar to the idea of vengeance. When something's done to you, then you think that it is valid for you to have vengeance, but then that vengeance occurs to something else. You are only satisfying yourself, but the context of the deed of the vengeance may be amplified in so many different ways. That's number one. Number two, I think boycott is something that is the right of the consumer. If you want to not boycott or not use a product for some reason, that's fine. I mean, that there is nothing wrong with that. But bad mouthing it on the social media, okay, you could get sued if you are saying the wrong thing. Here is because it's connected to a political party, then suit may not come. But the other thing is that, for me, if we are to boycott, to use boycott as a weapon, then it needs to have an authority to do that. One time, I think Tun Mahathir did the Buy British Last.
By British Last.
Yeah, I actually didn't know what conspired that. Did they, treat him badly or what? I don't know. But the point here is that he called for it. And I was there doing my PhD in Scotland. And I was called by my supervisor, who's one of the administrators of the university. He said, we are worried about this Mahathir statement. Why? I said, well, if he's calling that, you may be called home. Your PhD cancelled and things like that. But of course, it didn't affect us. I mean, he was very careful of that. So Mahathir was a very tactical man. And that is how I think boycott should be. The idea that number one is strategic, number two is focused to something, number three, it studies the ramifications and implications, not just jom kita boycott semua just like that. And of course, Mahathir did that before the social media. Okay,
Yes.
so with the social media, it will be totally different story. Okay.
No, but I like what you're saying. If you are to boycott something, there should be some strategy behind it. You see what the result is, what are the costs, etc., etc. Okay, let's move on to this. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, where do you see Malaysia sits at the moment, and at its current trajectory, what possibly could happen? Because I saw on one of your YouTube videos, and I do implore you to go and check out Prof. Tajuddin's videos, that you actually encouraged the youth to say, listen, I'm paraphrasing, kalau dapat kerja tempat lain, go ahead because you may have opportunity. Why did you say that?
The way to solve this issue is very clear to me. Okay, this issue of what I call conservatism in religion. There are two actually. Number one is the conservatism in Islam that is accidentally occurring because of a certain situation of history. But then there's also the weaponizing of it. That's another thing. But also the response from the non-Muslims, they don't know how to respond. So we have a whole mess of this thing. Somebody weaponizing, most of them or more Muslim becoming conservative, and then the non-Muslims reacting, unstrategically. And so that is a whole cauldron of mess.
It's a mess. It could be.
Yeah. So that's why I said in the meantime, for the next 10 years, if you have the opportunity to challenge yourself into being in another country, do so, because it's going to be really a mess. But this is how society grow. This is how we grow. What they say, it is the darkest before the dawn or something like that.
Okay.
Calm
before the storm.
Yeah, calm before them, blah, blah, blah.
dawn.
And this is our dark time, and it is very dark. I thought the Reformasi time was dark. This is darker. I say,
Really?
This is darker, even though you don't have a lot of burnings here, killings there. Some people, when they ask me, what is the level of extremism in Malaysia? And they were surprised when I say 9.7. Why 9.7? Are you waiting for somebody to die until you give that figure? I don't want to wait for somebody to die. That's why I'm giving it. So the way, as I said, that there is actually a way that can cut short this situation. And I say both parties, the non-Muslim as well as the Muslim themselves. It's not just orang kata tepuk bukan sebelah tangan, So it is there. I've already talked about it, but unfortunately nobody's listening. You see why they are not listening? When Mujahid Rawa was the Minister of Religion, I said, please go and train 50 to 100 ustaz in multidisciplinary ways, and then train them in New Zealand or any God-forsaken place where there are no Muslim, let them feel to be a minority there. And this is the only way that they can change the Malay society. Because I can't change the Malay society, you can't change the Malay society. I don't think the Sultan can change the Malay society. Only the ustaz or the religious people. If we look at the reformish, the Islamic reform movement, who led the attack? It was the professionals who had Islam. And they were being respected. Hassan Ali, and then there was also the Ustaz Badrul Amin. These are the heroes, Fadilah Kamsah. Okay, although he was not, in any group, but he is also the powerhouse of all these things, and that swept the nation. The Malays and overnight change with all the tudung and of course the janggut, the goatee, and all that. So the whole thing occurred then. But here is a different situation with the social media, with retirees from the Dasar Ekonomi Baru, who only wants to have this, way to salvation, and so they're not interested to read or to be more inclusive, to be because they already have their money. Okay, they already have their money, and so they're not worried about that. And maybe their children will be okay from their money, but their grandchildren will suffer. Who's going to hire people from Malaysia when you have such an attitude? Of the insensitivity of other cultures, as well as extremist attitudes and things like that. So this is that's why I said the dark before the dawn, and it's if you follow the advice that I have given, which cuts it short to 5 years. Interestingly, Sabah people and Sarawak people, they are always proud of their multiculturalism and tolerance. And when I give speech to them, I said. They say something like, oh, don't you think that Semenanjung Malaysia would follow us in terms... I said, don't worry lah, in 10 years time, it's going to come here. Why? You can stop Zakir Naik from coming there, but you cannot stop his video. And your children are also being taught in... do you remember the Heil Hitler Salute? Did you know about the incident about the Heil Hitler Salute?
No.
It was done
Remind me.
by I think a Sarawakian or a Sabahan, I forgot. But it's not from Peninsula, and it's by a graduate who went up on his convocation and did a Heil Hitler salute. And it was reported in the Facebook that he agreed with Hitler for killing all the Jews, children, women, and all that. And the university that he went to is part of the Federal University, which is part of the idea of... So when I saw that, nobody was disturbed, Nobody was disturbed. There were only 2% that was disturbed. Me and I think the ambassador of Germany. He was very disturbed. For you to actually don't even know the Jews and don't even care about women, children, and all that, to just say that it's okay for Hitler to, kill all of these people, that shows the... where did he learn that? And he was a university graduate. Where did he learn that? Okay, so I was very disturbed. But apparently,
I'm disturbed.
But the Minister of Education was not disturbed. The Prime Minister of the time, I think it was Najib, wasn't, of course, very disturbed. Nobody was disturbed. The Muftis was not disturbed. Nobody was disturbed. But me and the Ambassador of Germany, you can check it. And you can see my statement and you can see his statement, but no other statement. And the Vice Chancellor say, oh, no, it was nothing, and then that's it. They just poo the whole thing.
Wow.
That is. So I said,
scary.
And then when the bomb happened in Sarawak, is it? Or Sarawak, the KK,
Yeah.
I said I was wrong. It was not 10 years. It's already there. The Mazu statue, issue, where the Sabah, I think it was Sabah. I think it was Sabah. They wanted to build this 100-foot or 200-foot Mazu statue, to attract tourism. And Mazu is one of the Chinese deity, And then the Muslims were against it. And they said that this is insulting to Islam. Why? Because it's close to the mosque. And how far was the mosque? 1.5 kilometers. So, so I said, okay, I'm wrong. It's not 10 years. It's already there. And now the Sabah and Sarawak people were totally shocked the KK bomb in Kuching. So that's what happened.
When you brought up the issue about that Hitler salute, I also noticed in your comments and in your videos, and I noted myself that I'm surprised a lot more people, other than yourself and Zaid Ibrahim, is it?
Yeah.
Who are
Taufik,
have spoken out. Prof. Taufik has spoken out about the various issues and what's happening to the country. But in my understanding, there are a lot more very intellectual, very, I would say, like-minded individuals who have remained voiceless or silent, should I say. Why? Why you're speaking out? A couple of other people are speaking out. Where's everybody else? Has everybody gone to the left, so to speak? To the left?
Yeah. Well, one is that they think they can cover their sins by just discussing it in WhatsApp. Okay, but
the WhatsApp group. Too many.
It's just okay for them to just talk, to let off the idea that they are liberal. But then when you ask them to go public with it or write an article, they wouldn't do that. I have recently removed myself from this group called G70 Professor Melayu. I was very proud.
Wow, that's a heavy name.
Yeah,
G70
it's called,
Professor
you
Melayu.
never heard of that? Well, there's a reason for that. They're not very popular. Okay. But the point here is that they were formed to give support to Anwar Ibrahim. And I joined in because I was desperate for some Malay friends, because I didn't have that many after all my writings.
Kesian.
So in the first meeting I said, we are now all Professor Melayu. Takkanlah we just want to go and say we sokong Anwar Ibrahim. We should have an agenda of actually changing the minds of the Malays. Day one, I said that. And after a year has passed, I repeated the call 2 or 3 times in meetings after meetings, but it was never taken up. These people are just waiting to be appointed by the Anwar government because they all are some of Abim friends, Ikram and all that. So they're just waiting to be appointed, So that's number one. Number two, some of them, when I asked them to prepare YouTube videos, it seems that it's like, YouTube, social media, come on. For them to speak, you must have this grand seminar room with probably the minister, giving the keynote address.
With the bunga,
with the bunga, that sort of thing lah.
I like the bunga.
That's number one. The other thing is they enjoy talking to the walls of the seminar room. Where they have their postgraduate students, nobody to impress. I said, put in a few reporters, then you know how to explain things. So this is the tragedy of Malaysia. We have 3,000 professors, believe it or not. But if you ask them how many, ask the public, who do you know? Probably Professor Tajuddin, So the thing here is that I'm not out to look for popularity. For me, it's very simple. In Islam, if you have knowledge, you cannot keep that knowledge until you die. You must have it out there, because the role of changing society is not with the Khalifa alone or with the Prime Minister alone. It is you, because you will also be questioned for what you know and what you can do. I can speak, I can meet you, I can have the audience. That's what I do. Somebody says, let's march to Parliament. I think it's too hot and I probably get a heat stroke and a heart attack. I'm not going to do it. So God will not ask you things beyond your capability, but He will question what you can do. And so this is where the tragedy of the so many professors in social science not talking about the issues that's around. So many professors of religion who have more knowledge than I do on such matters, but also not talking. And so we are lost. We need people who have acknowledged academic integrity in that. I have academic integrity, but the point here is that I'm not an ustaz or coming from the religious realm and things like that. So that's where I said in an article to Mujahid Rawa, to train these ustaz so that they can come back and become muftis who have a wider perspective. If you read there was an article that I wrote about the Mufti of Singapore. About what he said about the Palestinian issue.
Yeah.
So he said something about, being compassionate, and it's a lovely letter, and it's written by a Muslim Melayu. So that is a far cry from our Mufti Melayu in Tanah Melayu. Okay, so that is the way that different experiences will show.
We're going to end off in just a moment. I just want to go with something you said, where sending the muftis or the ustaz overseas. I do remember I was in Redang once, and we took a boat out, and I just looked at Redang, and I saw the island, I saw the beach, and I just imagined to myself, could I live here? Then I thought, my thoughts went to, what if two people who hated each other, for example, someone from Palestine and someone from Israel, in the thick of it, ended up on this island with nothing else, no context, just on the island. Would they kill each other with nothing to kill for? Meaning, or would they just find a way to live and survive together? Because on an island, you have just got your trees and the beach and the ikan and the... Do you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, you kill over ideology, which seems to be the what's happening right now. But at the end of the day, you and I both know, it's not just the ideology. There's always politics behind it. And inevitably, someone is either gaining power, losing power, gaining money, or losing money. That's why when you said taking a mufti or an ustaz, putting them where they are the minority, experiencing where their Islam is not, the predominance is not strong, and how they would have to be treated and treat others is really, really interesting. Would it change anything though? I mean, number one, I don't think it's going to happen. But
the key here is, how do we look at education? I used to have this. Unfortunately, this is not a red flask. And I used to ask so many PhD holders in all my workshop, and I point to the flask and I said, what is the color of this flask? You know what they answered? Red lah. And so everyone never failed to answer the word. I said, well, what happens if I change the light source into a green light? Would that also still be red? And then, of course, they changed their mind, said, well, there'll probably be a different color. Okay, right. And what happens if you're a cockroach? Would you still see the thing in red? So the point here is that the answer to this is supposed to be the question. What is the color of this red flask? Your response should be, what source of light is the color? And if I say the source of light is white, then it is a red flask. But if the source of color... So your answer must be another question. And then you also need to say, what kind of receptors are we talking about? Are we talking human receptors? You heard of so-called colorblind? You know?
Exactly.
Who said they were colorblind? You know? Why? Because everybody sees this red. They don't see it. They see it grey. Yeah, but who says they were wrong? Where does it say that this is red? What cell? What thing? Because this thing is simply a mark
Reflection.
of the reflection of the light and the eye. You see? What is happening is that education make you stupid. Whether you have a secondary MCE, 8A, stupid. Whether you have a degree, still stupid.
Oh, I feel
Whether you
better
have
now.
a PhD, is still stupid. What do you mean by stupid? Because you merely answered what I call the boxes that has been created for you. The boxes of history, the boxes of religion, the boxes of architecture, the boxes of engineering. So all you did was to study this one box. So we never teach, even in PhDs. But supposed to be the PhD that you teach, well, what happens if it's not this box?
Yeah.
What happens if it's outside
the box.
You know, and there's no box at all in that matter. So the concept of religion, the concept of race, the concept of history. I have a lecture, if you want to listen to it, it's called The Lies of Our Life. And history is one of them. So we live with lies, pembohongan. Okay? What do you mean by pembohongan? Because history is made up of somebody's perspective. That's all it is. History is some events that has been picked out by someone who's looking at an issue of the present. So history is not a window to the past. It's the window of the present and the future. Meaning that if you want to paint a race to be more superior than others, then you pick. You have your pick of what you want, and then you create what is called interpretation, and then put in a story called a narrative. So that is history. So the point here is that it's okay to learn history from the sekolah menengah, but it is not okay to accept it. You must have the questions for it in the upper level. But here is the problem. Even the professors don't question it.
And on that note, if we can encapsulate what this hour of conversation has been about, it's basically down to, and what I'm hearing, the education, reading, and ultimately asking questions, which I also got to say I agree with you. In school, because my mother was English, I spoke English very well. The English teacher would teach something, and there were some sentences which I instinctively knew salah, it was not correct. And I would point it out to the teacher. Why is it? And the teacher will give me some, what she had learnt. Or preposition come before supposition, come before this, but which I had no understanding of. I just knew it was wrong. But she would put me down because she had read that, or she understood it to be this way, and therefore you were wrong.
Well, so, let me just ask you this question. Is it okay to be sesat?
Ooh, we could go on for another hour here.
Because if you want to go to a place and you follow somebody, don't you think that you only know one way? But if you were sesat, you probably find 10 different ways to the same destination, or even a better one. You know, so many people fear sesat as an academic. And as a Muslim, sesat is a friend in a sense that you need to know something until you question it. You only know something until you question it. You cannot say you know something because you just follow it.
And to be labeled sesat because you ask a question or decide to look at a different direction, you automatically get the label of sesat.
That's right.
On that note,
again.
On that note again, final story. I studied in Australia and in a high school in Australia as well. I did my final year there. And on Sundays, I was boarding. All the boarding boys went to church. Now, amongst the boys, not all of them were Catholic. There were some Hindus. I think I was the only Muslim. But I went to church, and it was my first time actually, not just in a church, but at a Sunday church where they are praying. Sesat. Going in, thought I was sesat. But subsequently, I sat there, and I can't tell you how much I learned. Listening to the priest, seeing how this boy reacted, that boy yang ni tidur, yang ni dengar, looking at they had incredible paintings on the wall, mirrors cut out of glass and all. And I almost treated that Sunday session as a education, like, so this is what Christians or Catholics do in a church on Sunday. Okay. I didn't walk out and suddenly become Catholic or anything, but I just remember like from before going in, I almost had I'm sesat to the point of banyak ni benda yang things that I was discovering that I can now speak about.
Because you were pulled out of the box of culture in Tanah Melayu. True. I didn't say Malaysia, I said Tanah Melayu.
And on that note, we need to stop. Thank you so much, Professor Tajuddin. We're going to have you back, and let's do another hour on sesat.
Yes,
because I really,
that's my special topic.
Guys, if you want that episode to happen, please in the comment section, because I think that could be a mega episode. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Terima kasih sekali lagi. Thank you for being on the show. And everyone, thank you for watching. As usual, like, subscribe, leave your comments, and tell me who you want me to speak to next time. And I'm going to have Prof back again. So, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum. What's going on, Malaysia? Plenty more.